Okay, so last Friday I got a lot of great feedback from the presentation that I gave on my 5 minute spotlight. And also, I wanted to send out a recording for anybody who was not able to make business connections last Friday and give you an overview of what we went through. So I'm just going to give you a recorded version of what I gave. So when I ask some questions and so on, there's no responses. It's because I'm just doing this as an aftermath. So basically, we started off and I asked a question. How many people here, by a show of hands, know somebody who's over the age of 75? Okay, great. How many people in this room plan on living to at least 75? Okay, wonderful. There's a couple people here who aren't too optimistic, so I encourage you to go home and think about that. Anyway, my name's Michael Fitzpatrick, and I've been specializing in long-term care planning and the topic of longevity since 2001. I helped co-found the LTC partnership. I've helped personally over 3,000 families create and establish a plan to be better prepared. I've earned designations, sit on the national advisory board of our industry, speaker, writer, coach. I love helping people through the process of education. Now, what we do at our company is we help create SWAN accounts. What is a SWAN account, you ask? Great question. It means sleep well at night. Isn't that what we all look for? So when it comes to long-term care planning, I've heard a lot of concerns people have. So I'm just going to put those on the table right away. I heard it's very expensive. I can't afford it. I don't have enough discretionary income as it is. Companies are leaving the business or premiums are increasing, creating a lot of uncertainty. Or what if I die and never use this? And a lot of other issues as well. So what our company has done is we've created a full suite of product and opportunity to help deal with the problems of aging. So the two biggest concerns that boomers have is outliving their income and spending all their money on care. So we've created a couple subdivisions within our company. For example, Solutions 3 LTC, where now there are multiple ways to be able to address the long-term care challenge other than just traditional long-term care insurance. For example, you could buy a $500,000 life insurance policy and have a long-term care rider. You check a little box on the application, and now all of a sudden you have access to $8 or $10 or $12 or $15,000 a month or more to use for long-term care. So you're guaranteed to use $500,000 either while you're living or after you've passed away. So anyway, there's multiple options like that that are out there today that didn't exist years ago. But I believe when it comes to this topic, it has a lot more to do with one's perspective. And there's two different groups of people that are out there. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but they're just two different camps. So the first group of people are trying to find all the reasons and ways as to why this kind of planning is not right for them and how they can be justified in that decision. They say things like, my kids will take care of me, I hate insurance companies, what if I die and never use this, I'd rather kill myself, I'll visit Dr. Kevorkian, and so on and so on and so on. I'm not saying it's a right or wrong, it's just a certain perspective that some people have about this topic. Now other people choose to say, you know what, I've worked really hard. I want to have choice and control and dignity, and I want to protect and preserve the assets that I've worked so hard for, and I want to have peace of mind. So I submit to you to figure out which group you're part of first, because if you've chosen the former and you're looking for all the reasons as to why not having a plan is right, there's not much I can do to help you. But if you're looking for all the reasons as to why maybe having a plan could be a prudent and practical and good stewardship type of path for you, I can certainly help you learn more about the options that exist. Now, you certainly don't need me to tell you about longevity. It's everywhere around us, and it's because the baby boomers who were born between 1946 and in 1964, there was about 80 million of them that were born during that period of time. And it's kind of like a basketball moving through a garden hose. The baby boomers have literally redefined every industry they've ever gone through, all the way back to a company called Gerber, where nobody had ever heard of them. And then in 15 years' time, they sold 1.6 billion jars of baby food. Then you had Kinney Shoes and Hush Puppies. And then how about Mattel and Hasbro? Candyland, Monopoly, all these games for kids to play with. Then you had McDonald's and Dairy Queen and KFC. Then the automotive industry experienced huge growth for about 15 to 20 years. Ironically, that number is pretty important, which is the span of time that the boomers went from 1946 to 1964, benefiting companies like Ford, Chevy, and Oldsmobile because there was about 8 to 10,000 kids turning 17 every day for almost 2 decades. Then all the boomers moved home, and the parents kept saying, if you live under our roof, you have to abide by our rules, and so they all went out and pursued the American dream of homeownership. To this day, don't you know that people are still talking about the real estate boom of the 1970s and 80s? But again, the two biggest issues that you and every other pre-retiree and retiree have is number one, outliving their income, and number two, spending all their money on health-related issues that are not covered by traditional insurance or Medicare. And that's why we exist, to help alleviate those two big concerns. So what is long-term care? Very simply, it's assistance, which is help, that's provided to someone who has a condition or an illness or a cognitive impairment that limits their ability to perform normal day-to-day activities of daily living. So we've seen some real celebrities reach the limelight in the media in the last 10 to 20 years due to long-term care issues. Ironically, Superman, Christopher Reeve, ended up paralyzed. Michael J. Fox, who had a booming career when he was young, all of a sudden was diagnosed. Pope John Paul II with Parkinson's, Ronald Reagan with Alzheimer's, Katharine Hepburn. I mean, the list goes on. But you know what's interesting is that we could probably replace these pictures with people that we know, friends of ours and family members. So our process is very simple. We have a brief phone call, about 5 minutes, and we decide whether we want to have an in-person meeting or a virtual meeting where we can actually have a screen share with the computer. And we'll sit down for about an hour and help you explore the different options that exist out there in the marketplace to see if anything makes sense for you. And if so, what might be the best path? Now, if you decide at some point that pursuing this makes the most sense, we can certainly help you with filling out some of the paperwork to get your accounts established and get the process moving along. So it's very seamless. There's no cost. Our process is free, and we just help educate people that way. Now, I want to end with a short story here, and it's about the topic of defining moments. Now, the definition of a defining moment is a point at which the essential nature or character of a person or group is revealed or identified. And the short story is about a couple, beautiful couple. In fact, they just celebrated their 18th wedding anniversary last month. And Megan and Ed got married up in Nantucket, and it was a glamorous wedding. And they were kind of like the Hollywood couple. And they went on, they had their firstborn, Charlie, and they were living the regular life. And then Charlie was added to, Pippin, I should say, was added to Charlie. They had another baby, and they were just moving along, and they were doing all the regular things in life, enjoying themselves in weddings, baptisms and christenings and family events and so on. Ed and Megan used to go to Marco Island every year, and they had a great vacation spot down there. And all of a sudden, Megan was diagnosed with breast cancer about 3 or 4 years ago. And wouldn't you know that about 4 months ago from today, she was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And things changed in the snap of a finger for their family. A lot of you guys know that I've shaved my head in solidarity and support of my mom, who's going through breast cancer right now, but also my Aunt Megan is battling brain cancer. And her life and Ed's life and the kids' lives and our family's life has changed dramatically, since. So it's been a defining moment, I have to say. And today's Friday morning, the 17th of July. And a lot of you have been asking about Megan and praying, and I really appreciate that. I can't tell you how much that means to me and my family. And Megan died last night. And so now Ed, my Uncle Ed, is a widower. He had a defining moment in his life. And the true character of who he is as a person with loyalty and commitment and courage and faith and stability and strength, right? And honesty and authenticity. That's been revealed in this defining moment. So I ask you, are you prepared for the next defining moment in your life, in your family's life? We have some wonderful information for free available. If you want to opt in and get some free videos, I would love the opportunity to help you in any which way I can, just to learn more about the options. It's free to learn. There's no cost, but it can be extremely expensive to not know. So they say that the cost of having insurance and not needing it pales in comparison to the cost of needing it and not having insurance. So thank you very much. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you around the chamber soon. Take care.